Hello, hello, hello. Welcome again to our first official episode of the Subpar Mechanics podcast. Introducing today with me, we have our three main hosts. I myself, Jacob. We have Brian. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely not. I'm being forced to be here. Someone send help. I'm blinking 3 times. They've kidnapped me.
Oh, what happened to audio only podcast, dude?
That's why I'm
And,
telling them I'm blinking 3 times. Send help.
and then on the other hand, we have our lovable other co-host, Alljay. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
What's up, guys? My name's Alljay. I am the diversity hire.
I mean, you know what? Fair enough.
You know
Fair
what?
enough.
Fair, fair.
Right? We can't really argue with that one.
I
It's
mean, I'm not
technically
gonna.
correct.
I'm not gonna argue with it.
All right, boys. All right. So let's start off the show. How's your past 2 weeks been, guys? Let's start with you, Alljay. What you been up to?
Man, just hanging out, working, hiking. I think I mentioned this last time too. We've been doing a lot of hiking, watching a lot of anime actually the last couple days. Like I think I watched. I've been watching a lot of Studio Ghibli anime movies. Probably watched like 4 or 5 of them in the last couple days. So yeah, fun times for me.
Nice,
How about you guys?
Yeah, how about you, JB? What you been up to?
I finally got off vacation, went back to work. It kind of sucked, but oh well.
You
It's
know
just
what?
how it goes.
Respectable. I mean, it's how it
I
be sometimes.
I feel it. I've been with All J. I've just been working. Uh, Started doing a little bit more activity in life, just helping out around the property since springtime has come, cleaning up some shit.
I was gonna mention though, you know you're a real responsible adult when you actually look forward to going back to work because you do more work at home when you're on vacation than what you actually do at work. Because you use all your vacation days to get all of the shit you need to do done that you can't do when you're normally working.
That's kind of what I did for the first part of it.
That's my point, right? Like, you know, you're an adult when you're like, I'm fucking tired of doing all this shit, man. I can't wait to go back to work. It's less work than when I'm at home. Because when I'm at home, I'm just working 24/7. I've always got something I need to do. When I'm at work, at least, you know, I get my lunch break. I get my legally mandated 15-minute breaks every twice a day. Like, so much less work.
That's if you're not retail, dog. I work retail. It's not. There's no breaks during that.
For
Well,
you,
someday.
maybe, but every employee in Ontario is guaranteed two 15-minute breaks every day.
Oh no, we're guaranteed the breaks too. It's just with retail, it's a little bit differently because whenever there's no customers, it's considered downtime and it can be classified as break time.
Yeah. I mean, I feel it,
So
dude. Where I used to work, I literally never even got to have a lunch break. I would be fucking serving customers in one hand and eating my sandwich in the other hand, just like, this is my life.
I
If the
have
fucking labor board comes in, we're getting sued, but what am I supposed to do?
I've definitely had days where there's been like 6 customers that I'm dealing with getting their vape juice, whatever other needs they need, and in one hand I'll have like a Zaxby's chicken sandwich, and in the other hand I'm just picking shit and going.
Yeah, I mean, that's the life, though, right? When you gotta serve
Oh,
customers, you gotta serve customers. You work on their schedule, not yours.
one last thing with the anime. All J, have you seen Demon Slayer?
All right, hold up, hold up. Put a
Oh yeah,
pause on
that's
that. We'll get to that when we
wait.
get to our topic.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Just put a pin on it, keep it in mind. Just to wrap up this topic real quick, I mean, for
Yeah,
me,
how's your past 2 weeks been, brother?
right? It's been more of the same, really. Like, just doing my thing, enjoying life, having a great time, enjoying lockdown, can't leave the house, can't go anywhere, can't do anything. It's great. Living the dream, honestly. I feel
The
like that's
dream of
gonna be me
existential
for
dread.
right. I feel like that's gonna be me for the first 3 episodes. It's gonna be like, what did you do these past 2 weeks? I stayed at home. We're still in lockdown. I still can't go anywhere. I still can't do anything. Like, this is my life. I'm stuck
I
here.
love it here.
Right? I joked about being kidnapped and held hostage, but maybe I'm not kidding.
The reality of it is Justin Trudeau's got everybody hostage in their own
To be
home.
fair, it's not even him because the provinces control healthcare. It's fucking Doug Ford who's got us held hostage right now.
God damn it.
Damn you,
Fucking
Doug Ford.
Can I just say, Rob Ford, we miss you.
Dude, yeah,
R.I.P.
Rob Ford.
Oh my god. The fucking picture
I
for this
know.
episode should just be our picture with Rob Ford. That
Yes,
should just
that's
be
the
the picture of
thumbnail.
this episode.
Like,
JB's not in the picture at all. No, I'll Photoshop your face onto Francisco's body.
Hey, that works.
dude,
Perfect.
unironically, I know nothing about Canadian politics except for Rob Ford.
Yeah, we actually met him when he was at the peak of his infamy because he was
That's
doing his
amazing.
re-election
Yeah.
campaign, and we went to one of his events, and we like actually shook hands with the man and took pictures with him. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Like the picture for this episode is legit just gonna be our three picture because it was me, Francisco, and Alljay. Except we're gonna remove Francisco's head and put your head on his body, so it just looks
Dude,
like you were there.
yes. Yes.
But it'll be the worst edit job ever because
Can I
that's
just
just
say-
what I do.
Can I just say, for all the infamy and everything, I will give credit for him for one thing. I was
What's
watching this interview, and he's just like, "Listen, I know what people need help. I was there last week. You know what I've been doing. We need to help these people." And I'm like, you know what? Fair enough. He got the knowledge.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like, one thing you can say about him that you can't necessarily say about his brother Doug, because his brother Doug's a bit of a character, is at least Rob actually, like, genuinely gave a shit about the people of the city of Toronto. Like, this man was actually about, like, trying to save taxpayers' money and shit. Doug Ford, it just kind of feels like does whatever the fuck he wants and feels like he's gonna get him reelected.
I mean, respect for the grind and doing your job, but damn, try
Yeah.
not to get political on this shit, but damn.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're trying not to get political, but we're also talking about someone who died, what, 5 years ago now? I feel like that's not necessarily getting political.
Damn,
Gone but
has it
not
been that
forgotten.
long?
I don't know if it's been that long, but it feels like it's been that long.
Yo, we have the power of the internet.
We do, but I'm not going to Google it because we're moving swiftly on to the next topic, which
Go
I
for
told
it.
you
I
to
already
put a
have it
pin
up.
into.
He died in 2016, so it's been 6
5
years.
years.
5
years,
years.
bro. 2021. Look at that, though. I knew it was 5 years. I'm good at this.
All right, boys, let's go on.
Anyways, moving
we
on.
starting. We
right?
starting with anime and media this
We've
week.
already alienated all of our listeners by discussing politics in the first 10 minutes of the show. Now we can talk about anime.
Hell yeah! Only the real ones stick around.
Wait, I'm curious. As far as sending these to people, how many Canadians do you think will actually be listening to this on the get go, like the very first initial, like when we drop this?
Maybe 2 or 3 of those. How many actually live in Ontario? Probably 0.
Are there people listening from the States aside
Oh,
from?
A lot of our friend group, at least online, does consist of people in the States. So
Oh, neat.
We've got a global
Shout out.
audience,
What
dude.
up?
We're sending
What
it
up,
to
Americans?
everyone. Like, I'm pretty sure we had someone listening from 3 different continents on that first episode that we recorded that no one's ever going to hear because it's private.
I showed it to my friend John, who's in UK. I had people here in the States. We had Canada.
Yeah.
Oh.
I sent it to one of my Australian friends, and
I thought about sending it to my Australian friend.
Yeah, and I sent it to a couple of people living in Europe, and I sent it to, a bunch of my North American friends. So we had at least 3 different continents represented on that first episode in our listener base.
It'd be crazy. Like, after we do this for a couple weeks, we have the analytic chart, and it's just like, Uganda is your top country. It's like, what?
Hey.
Oh, God. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't have any friends living in Africa currently.
But that'd be amazing. I would love for, like, something like that to happen.
It would be, but odds are our top demographic's going to be Americans.
Our top demographic is North Korea. Kim Jong-un just loves us for no reason.
I don't know about
He sends
that
all
one,
of us
bud.
to North Korea. Do like a
We're
live.
gonna do the interview 2.0.
Jesus Christ. This rate, he's gonna fucking hear this and send people out to fucking kill us.
Don't mention that and we'll be fine. Don't call attention to it.
All right. Enough about more politics.
That wasn't even meant to be political. That was just a
I
stupid
know it
joke.
wasn't, but it ended up going down that route. So,
Oh,
yeah.
you did it?
Anyways, moving swiftly forward. Great segue. Let's go to that topic we pinned, JB. What did you want to ask Alljay about?
Well, Alljay, have you seen Demon Slayer yet? I know, big fan of anime and everything.
Oh, I am actually super late to that. I watched like 1 episode.
Well, they just recently finally localized the movie from last year to Western audiences. I went and saw it at an early pre-showing.
And how was that? Did you like it?
It this I don't want to alienate the anime fans here, but I genuinely think the movie was better than the entire first season, and I love the first season.
Oh, yeah. I have that honestly because the thing is, I have kind of limited knowledge to that. As far as that show goes, I know it's about like breathing and swords.
I
Okay.
know it's about breathing. Well,
No,
that
like
No,
congrats,
he's
dude.
actually kind of spot on because every character in the show, they're part of the Demon Slayer Corps, which is like kind of it, like it's like an underground, not really underground, but like kind of like a secret service for taking care of demons and other things that are otherworldly. And they use swordsmanship styles based on breathing techniques like water breathing kata 12, dragon form, like usual anime
yeah,
bullshit.
basically like yeah, like they perform their like I guess fighting stances or whatever, but
I
like with
will
like breathing techniques and
I
stuff.
will say though, they have some of the most beautiful animation for those effects. Like the main character Tanjiro uses water style, water style jutsu.
I
Yeah,
mean, I'm not gonna lie, that's the first thing that popped into my head when you said that, but go on.
But whenever he actually activates the water breathing and he's about to do the special technique, his sword starts like seeping brushstroke water waves that looks beautiful.
yeah.
And
His
so
sword
whenever
just turns
he's
into a pool noodle and he starts beating people with it. That's
I
the
mean I
water technique.
what is this, the Josh fight of 2021?
Oh, you know what
it
I found
is.
out about
We got to talk
that
about
show?
that.
We will. Go on.
Um, so Demon Slayer. Apparently, those effects that you see in the animation, those are just imaginary. Basically, it's like there's actually I don't know how to explain it, but basically those water like patterns that come out of his sword and shit, those are all for the audience. It's actually not supposed to be like meant like it's not like Dragon Balls where it's all super powered, right? That I found this out from like a TikTok or whatever, which
Yeah,
makes them a little bit more, I guess, grounded, and that's why I've been loafing on it, but I do want to watch it because I like those more grounded animes where it's more, it's not like, oh fuck, I'm fucking losing to this main villain and shit, and then psych, I got a power up. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I get exhausted with shit like that.
that's just the shonen category in general. Like it
Yeah,
it's gotten big and popular, so you're gonna always have a little bit of burnout from it, but it's popular for a reason. Like
yeah.
My Hero is a good anime, but in a lot of ways it copies a lot of themes and ideals from Naruto and other popular shonens that
Oh
came
yeah,
before it.
100%. Yeah, it's the power of never giving up.
Wait, and to come back to this also, Brian, have you ever seen Studio Ghibli movies since you're not an anime fan?
Absolutely not.
Dude, you actually need to watch those. Like that's like non-anime fans love Studio Ghibli films.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I recommend 100%.
I will give you my
Uh,
HBO Max login so you can watch them, Brian.
Oh, it's not even that. I was just gonna say, like, this podcast is just gonna turn into us giving each other recommendations that we're never gonna actually act on. We're gonna be on like episode 100, and we're still gonna be giving recommendations, but we're not gonna have actually done any of our own recommendations.
hey
It's like
man, who knows?
recommendations from episode 1 we still won't have done, but we're on episode 100. Like, oh, you should definitely try this out. I feel like you're really gonna love it. It's gonna be great.
Why are you calling us out like that, bro? We're not even there yet.
Because man, future proofing. I gotta make sure we set the standards. You know, if you're tuning in on episode 1, you're like, oh, they're probably gonna talk about that next week. You know, he's gonna watch that. This is gonna be a talking. Absolutely not. Like this is
No,
probably
we're
never gonna happen.
we're just gonna devolve into degeneracy and make the same stupid jokes.
Basically, I mean,
I'm down to clown though. That's the fun part.
I mean, hey, either way, if Brian doesn't take the recommendation, all y'all listeners, check them out. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, actually, next Monday and Tuesday when I'm off work, Brian, I'm gonna draft you, and I'll start rewatching Code Geass because Chris also said he'd watch it with us.
hey man, you know, fair enough. Like, if you can find a time and a place when I'm free, I'm more than down. But
I'll make time for this because I will turn you into anime lover yet.
I mean, probably not. But I like your spunk, kid. I appreciate it.
You know what? There's a reason why I never talk about anime with him, and I've known this guy for what
10 years now.
10 years now.
But I'm also stupid and I'll keep trying it.
Fair enough.
Oh man, right? Respectable. I dig it. I was gonna say while you were talking though, Alljay, I can't wait for us to just bring up a bunch of Toronto slang that fucking nobody else in the world will understand, and we'll just sound like complete idiots, and it'll be like, "Yep, that's us for you."
What are you talking about? I live in an area where people put the H before the W and what? They're like, what are you doing, boy?
But that's the thing, right? You're the only one from your area, so like we might not get some of the local shit you say. Alljay and I actually will understand what each other are saying, even if no one else does. So we might just say shit because that's how we actually speak to each other, without realizing, oh yeah, there are other people listening to this who might not know what the fuck we're saying.
We're both gonna devolve into Toronto mans.
Yeah, basically.
I don't live anywhere near a city, so I don't have any sort of slang terms. I just pick up whatever I see on the internet, like that's cap or that's gas, or one of the big ones when I was in high school was, oh, that's diesel, bro. I hated that one.
What does that even mean?
Right? Like what?
Really, that was like a big one for a couple years. People were like, bro, it's basically like saying that's gas, bro, but it's like that's diesel, bro.
Oh, because it's for okay, I get it, but
it was stupid. I hated it.
To be fair, I mean, all of the shit Francisco says, I absolutely hate and will refuse to use. So if Francisco likes something, it immediately goes on my don't ever use that because Francisco uses it.
Yeah, but he's just his own special brand of stupid. Like, we just let him be.
Dude, he says everything in the world is cap at this point, so I refuse to ever say that. Not once. Unless I'm saying it ironically, I will not say it just because I know he says it, so I won't be saying it.
I hate saying cap so much because I didn't care about it at first, but then everyone I know started saying it, so I'm like, that's cap, bro.
Oh, I say it very ironically, and like I make it like very clear that like I'm not genuine with how I feel with that word. You know?
But I hate it when it's ironic. It starts ironic, then turns unironic. Like back in like 2013, 2014, when you be like, swag, bro. I started unironically using swag for a hot minute with my friends just because we said it so much ironically.
To be fair though, when you start unironically using something years after it was cool, that is in itself kind of cool though.
I agree. I agree, because I've been using swag like recently.
Right? Like same. Like, dude, I still fucking use dabbing. When was the last time dabbing was relevant? Like, I made so much fun of it when it was relevant, and now when it's not relevant anymore, like that's one of my go-to things. Just because, like, it's fucking funny when you use something that died.
I was at work on Sunday, and I had my friend Wyatt with me, and his girlfriend Ashton, and they came in, and he's like, hey, can I hit your vape? And I went to hand it to him and dabbed on him. And he's like, bro, are we back in high school? It's like, shut up. Don't make fun of me.
Oh.
I love it.
Oh, you guys seen the one where it's basically like a bunch of kids would go up to their parents like asking, hey dad, how's the food? And like the parent would be like, oh, this shit bustin', no cap. And then they go, sheesh. I fucking love it. And I use that every single day just to piss my girlfriend off.
Dude, that would piss me off too.
I don't hate it, but
I hate it.
Has become the new thing. Like, I'll be sitting at work, I won't talk to my best friend Kyle, but he'll just randomly like kick the door open and just sheesh.
Like, you know what's weird about that sheesh thing though? That's not new. That's been around for so long, and we're gonna sound like hipsters here. Oh, we fucking did that shit first, but like that's been around for like grade 9.
Dude, I remember doing that shit in high school, bro. Like before anyone was doing it.
It's just hit a resurgence now.
That's why I'm saying though, like if you use something when it's not cool, that's cool in like a non-hipster but hipster way.
My whole family makes fun of me for being a hipster, so fuck it. I guess I am.
Well, we're gonna start making fun of you for it too, because Alljay and I are firmly in the no hipster train. Am I right?
I
Yep.
don't think I'm a hipster. I just like the things I like, and I show them to people, and then they're like,
Okay,
"This
so
is this is weird, bro."
why do people think you're a hipster?
I mean, I like really weird, random shit, and my family's like, "Why do you like this weird, random shit?" I'm like, "I don't know."
I was gonna respond to that and be like, audio only, by the way, but have you seen him? Just bring back the audio only meme.
Okay, this is gonna make or break your case. If you answer this question, this is gonna determine whether or not you are a hipster. Do you own a red flannel shirt?
I have a black and white flannel like over jacket, but that's it.
Okay, no, you're fine. You're good.
Brian, you failed. You failed.
I don't know if pants count.
Hold on, I can actually audio only though, but I can grab this.
Oh God, what's he grabbing? Like we don't even know at this point.
Actually, this.
There you go. Fair
Nah,
enough.
nah, you get a pass. You get a pass.
It's not
That's
red.
not
You get a
hipster.
pass.
Apparently,
gotta
when
be
I wear
red.
that, apparently when I wear this and have my hair down, not put up, people are like, "Oh, you look like a lumberjack."
Lumberjack's a
Respectable.
compliment.
I mean, I fucks with it.
Respectable, honestly. We got really far off topic, by the way. We just
mean-
straight went down like 4 different rabbit holes. That was great.
That's kind of what makes a good podcast, though. As long as you're talking about interesting things, people are like, "That's cool."
Interesting things like audio only podcast, by the way. But let me show you guys something that no one can see.
It's called building the tension. People want to see.
It's called
They
edging.
want to see the video.
Oh man. Oh.
Because now we've like created this mystery. The listeners want to know whether or not JB actually looks like a hipster or is a hipster. You know, people are gonna see that. People are gonna want to see that.
Honestly, the worst insult I've ever gotten was one of my friends said I looked like this character from a game. It's called Y2K, a postmodern RPG. The main character's name is Alex, and he is a taller, bigger, redheaded dude with a bushy beard who is very opinionated about music and other things. Somebody's like, he's like, he was like, "Shut the fuck up! You look like this guy," and he sent me the picture, and I have never felt more offended in my life.
Yikes! Let me Google this right now. I'm very curious.
Fair enough. I'm not going to Google it because I don't care enough. But you know, it's how it be sometimes. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Is there anything else you guys want to bring up on the anime topic before we bring it to a close?
No, I've been lacking, dog. I was caught lacking while I was on
Oh, yeah.
vacation. I did not watch
No,
a
same
single
here.
episode of anime.
Same here, man. Same here.
What do you mean
I've
save here? You literally just said in our "What have you been up to?" Oh yeah, I've watched a lot of anime for the past 2
He's watched a lot of movies.
It's anime, but they're more like
Studio Ghibli
like
is like the
they're
Disney of
movies.
Japan.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's just there. They're good though. Don't get it twisted. Y'all listening to this shit. Fucking go check them out. That's all I gotta say.
Studio Ghibli is like they're good. They're
Wait,
worth it.
Brian,
What
am
up,
I allowed to cuss on here?
dude? I've said fuck like 4 different times already, and we're 20 minutes in. Like I'm pretty sure you are. Just
Word.
don't say any hate speech or anything that people will find offensive, JB.
What? You saying that when they haven't seen the test episode just makes me seem like an asshole. Fuck you.
I know that's the point.
Oh, I'm gonna be the asshole of the podcast.
Yeah, definitely not me. I'm the nice guy here. You're definitely the asshole of the group. We all laugh because we all know that's not true. Our
I am
listeners
the
who don't know
neutral
me
party.
yet, right? Like the listeners who don't know me yet are like, "Oh yeah, he seems like a nice guy. You know, he's hosting the podcast and everything." Everyone who knows me is just there like, "Shut the fuck up, Brian. You're the biggest asshole on the planet." Oh man, this is great. I love it. I absolutely love it. But yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, sometimes you loafed a little bit on some stuff, but On to our next segment of the podcast. JB, you ready to talk about games?
Oh hell yeah.
What you been playing for the past couple weeks, bud?
Uh, I've just been playing Metal Gear Solid 5 and Siege with Heidi.
Nice, respectable.
This
As for me, or go on.
this might be a hipster thing to say, but I fucking hated MGS5 when it came out because I wanted like classic Snake stories, and I got that. Like gameplay was good, but the story was lacking. And now that I've become older and wiser, I'm like, it's fun. Fuck it, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know where I stand on 5 because I didn't hear many great things about it when it came out, so I wasn't really that interested in watching it. And I also haven't watched a playthrough of 4 yet, to be fair. I've only watched the first 3 games, but I'm glad you're enjoying it at least.
Honestly, 4 is my favorite one.
I've heard that from a lot of people. I just haven't found someone that
Oh.
I enjoy making videos play the game, and I obviously don't own it, so I've never played it myself.
The big difference between them is people who like 4 a lot are the ones who see it as the end of a series, the end of an era, and they see it as the love letter send off that it is. Whereas people who hate it saw it as too fan servicey and just not up to standards of like where 3 and 2 were.
Yeah, fair enough. I just remember there being a lot of controversy about 5 because of how they did like the 2 different games for it, and they did all of that stuff with it, and a lot of people didn't end up liking it and whatnot.
5 was a mess because uh, it wasn't finished. The final act of the game was cut because of Kojima and Konami's argument.
Mm-hmm.
They had a weird game that you could buy beforehand for like $30 called Ground Zeroes that was like 5
Yep.
missions, a couple side objectives. It was basically a glorified tech demo.
Yeah, I remember that. And that was the main
And
source of controversy at the start.
and I mean, like it's the best gameplay of the whole series. Like it's very fluid, it works well. You can easily tell if you're be in stealth and not going to be noticed, or if you're loud and going to be noticed.
Yeah.
And they made a lot of small adjustments to make it easier for people to play it, accessibility. But because of that, there's a lot of weird things in the story that just not to mention. I mean, it's technically a prequel game because it's like, oh, this is what happens between Metal Gear, the first ever game back from the 80s, and Metal Gear Solid 3, which was like the prequel of all prequels.
Yeah, the prequel to the entire Metal Gear Solid franchise. Yeah, no, fair enough.
It was just a weird one.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I heard about it. Like, I haven't really heard many people saying like 5 is their favorite of the series. Like, they really love it more than the others. It's kind of there, you know. Some people think it's bad. Some people think it's good. Nobody really thinks it's their favorite. Everyone's just kind of somewhere in that middle area.
So, you still on the Xenoblade Chronicles grind?
Yeah, I'm still on the Xenoblade Chronicles grind, still just hashing it out, but I did manage to take quite a decent amount of break playing a bunch of Battlefield 1, which I'm sure you're already aware of, but I've been playing the absolute shit out of that game because it's not a game that I played when it was new, actually. I played the beta for it, and I played a lot of the beta for it, and I was kind of on a lot of the things they changed about it and the feel of the game overall, but to be fair, like, the beta map was Sinai Desert, which I don't think is a very good Battlefield 1 map, in all honesty. So that also didn't help. But now that I've played some of the actual, like, good maps that game has to offer, I feel like it's a lot better of a game than I thought it was going to be just based off of what I played on the beta, like, 6 years ago or whatever the hell it was.
When it first dropped, I was not a fan of it because the bullet deviation, and I thought a lot of the maps were very dookie.
Yeah.
Uh, I can't remember what expansion it was that added the Russian maps, but that's actually what changed my opinion on that game. But I'm a sucker for Russian history. That shit is so interesting.
Yeah, fair enough. Like, it was the same with me, right? Like, when I was playing the beta, I was noticing all of that stuff. Like, I hated how much more impactful suppression was in this game than it was in 3 and 4. Because, like, you've got, for the most part, like, weapons aren't as strong and they're not all fully automatic like they were in 3 and 4, right? Like, in 3 and 4, you're suppressed a little bit. Eventually, your bullet hose is going to hit the enemies. Whereas in this game, like, that's not a guarantee, you know? You get suppressed with a sniper rifle, it's entirely likely that you're just going to miss your shot because suppression is a thing. And then there was also the whole bullet deviation thing. And, like, when you're playing with an LMG, they get more accurate as you fire more, but there's still LMGs in the game that have, like, 20 rounds. So how's it supposed to get more accurate if all of your shots are gone in 2 seconds? And it was a very weird experience. And like I said, playing on Sinai Desert, which I feel like is one of the weaker maps in that game, did not help. But now that I've had more time to play with it and time to play with a lot of the better maps on it, I do enjoy it a lot more than I thought I was going to, just based off of my experience with the beta.
Yeah, like I've always been a medic guy when I play Battlefield because like people don't like to revive and heal, and so I got used to playing that. Not to mention medic usually has some of the guns that I recognize and like to use from other games. But in Battlefield 1, being a medic is tragic because those rifles are good, but you add in all the extra little elements like the suppression, the bullet deviation. It feels awful to play them on a lot of maps.
Yeah. And like there's also a massive discrepancy, I feel like, in one that's more present in one than it is in 3, 4, Hardline, BC2, even 1943 to an extent, where a lot of the maps feel like they're just really wide open, and with a lot of the mechanics like LMGs being laser beams if you just bipod them, snipers having one hit kills to the body because of the sweet spot mechanic, and planes being absolutely incredibly overpowered, every mortars going off all over the place, which, like, to be fair, that's pretty representative of World War One, right? Like the battlefields were all pretty much wide open. There were mortars and grenades going off all over the place. There were artillery shells going off all over the place, right? Like
Trenches, trench foot, shovels, all of it's there.
exactly, right? Like I do get why they went in that direction, but it does make for some rather like irritating gameplay at times where you're just like, man, I don't want to have to run out in this open field right now where there's 3 snipers looking at me from every direction. There's a dude with a bipoded LMG just hosing bullets down at me, and I can't even hit him now because he's suppressing me. Like, a lot of these things aren't very fun. But again, I feel like there's not as many maps that really suffer from that, and a lot of the maps actually do have like a lot of urban areas where you can still get some close quarter combat in and still feel like a Battlefield experience without detracting from the experience they tried to go for with the World War One game.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite maps. I can't remember what it's called, but it's one of the big French cities where there's a 5 points, and it's hectic, but it's within reason because I feel like even snipers with all that close quarters have a fair chance because there's enough alleyways and other stuff where people can actually post up and wait out, ambush, do all the normal tactics.
Are you thinking of the one with the 2 bridges?
Yes.
That's Amiens.
Thank you.
No problem. It's also one of my favorite maps, which is why I know it. It's also,
But
ironically, one of the maps that doesn't have planes on it, which is probably why we enjoy it.
yep. But I mean that comes back like realism doesn't mean fun in video games.
I mean, there's that, but there's also like this is going into a completely different rabbit hole, but a lot of people were upset with like all of the customization and shit and the trailer and shit for Battlefield 5, and rightfully so, right? Like you want your game to have at least some air of historical realism when it's set in a historical setting, but also Battlefield games have never been 100% historical, right? There's always been experimental weapons and shit in Battlefield games because they make the game more fun, you know?
Yeah, and to be fair, a lot of them are accurate representation of those historical weapons, but they were never used, so they're not accurate.
I
Like
mean,
it's a
some of
weird.
them were even just like concepts, right? Like the level 10 assault weapon, the Hellregal, didn't exist. They made one prototype for it and it vanished. No one knows anything about it. No one knows what it did. They've got some specs on it, right? But they're just putting that into the game because it'll make it more fun, right? And there's a very fine line between breaking historical realism in a historical set game for just because one of the higher ups daughters wanted to play as a female in the game versus breaking it for the sake of making the game more fun, because at the end of the day you are making a video game. as much as you want to include all of these things for historical realism, you also need to make sure your game is fun to play first and foremost. If you make it 100% realistic World War One game that already exists pretty much, it's called Verdun. If you play that, you're literally just running out of the trenches and just getting shot from a million miles away from the other end of the trench, and there's nothing you can do about it, because that's pretty much the experience of most soldiers in World War One.
I mean, and even then they have other games like Escape from Tarkov is one of the big ones nowadays for its realism and other stuff, because there's so many finer details. Like they have hotkeys, check your magazine, check your bolt to see if you have a weapon, you have a round in the chamber ready to fire. You can mess with your optics. You have leg strength and arm strength and everything. And they've worked it out to where it's fun, but people also forget that like it's fun to, like, going back to Mario, it's fun to just run and jump.
Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, you need to find that very fine balance of striking a point with realism and striking a point with a fun game. And Battlefield has never been the 100% historically accurate game. Like, I'm sure people are going to hate that and people are going to comment, right? But realistically, it never has been 100% historically accurate. It has always been leaning more towards the, what's it called? Oh, God. Leaning more towards, like, the Quake type of arena shooter than a realistic type of shooter, you know, a realistic Milsim type game. It doesn't lean as far into that as like a Call of Duty does, for example. Call of Duty is very much so the prototypical arena type shooter. Like, that's what it built its franchise off of.
They try to sell it as the Milsim though, and I like original Call of Duty from 2003 is so different than what Modern Warfare and Cold War were.
It
And
is, but I feel like they found a good niche, and it's not a market that was being fulfilled by anything since Quake died, right?
yeah, and I wish it wouldn't have died, man. I grew up playing Quake and Unreal Tournament. That was my lifeblood, and now I'm 22 and play old man games.
Pretty much, but I mean, that's how it is sometimes. Um, uh, that does bring me up to a point that I want to get to soon, but the last thing that I've been up to as for gaming this week, my World of Warcraft guild made it to the final raid boss of the tier. I know neither of you give a shit about that, but you know, it's important to me because it means I'm almost done the tier now, which means I'm almost done with WoW for a few months until the next tier comes out, which is really exciting. Always a
I
fun
have
time when the tier ends.
I have a controversial opinion to share about games that I can include both of you on.
Sure.
I really kind of hate in this direction of gaming that we are right now. Like com- companies keep trying to add so many things to a game, and I like content, but I like quality too. Like
So this is very funny because this is actually the topic I was going to bring up, and it's more refined than that take. So a few months back, Asmongold was reacting to. If you don't know who Asmongold is, he's an OG World of Warcraft player. He's been playing since the beginning. He makes videos, he streams. He was at one point the biggest streamer on Twitch. Like, he's a massive personality. A lot of people know who he is, even if you're not involved in the World of Warcraft scene. And he was reacting to the Assassin's Creed Valhalla trailer, and they were talking about how, you know, sometimes Eivor's not going to be going into stealth. You know, you're going to be a Viking, you're going to be running around chopping heads off. And he's like, yeah, fuck that. Fuck stealth. We don't want stealth in this game. Fuck stealth. Stealth sucks. I want to fucking chop some heads off and shit, right? And he ended up getting a lot of flack for that because from Assassin's Creed fans, and rightfully so, because this is the kind of people that they're making the games for now. Like, this isn't an OG Assassin's Creed fan. You know, the Assassin fantasy isn't to run around with two axes screaming and fucking chopping heads off. Like, the Assassin's fantasy is to stalk a target and stealthily kill them and get out, right? Like, that's what you're aiming for. And to his credit, he's very self-aware, and he acknowledged that criticism and said, yeah, I agree with you guys, right? Like, straight up, you guys are right. This game shouldn't appeal to me. And then he ended up making a clip recently. Well, not a clip, but he was streaming and he ended up talking about it recently, and the clip came out where he's like, I don't want Assassin's Creed Valhalla to appeal to me. This game should not appeal to me. I do not like stealth games. Stealth games are not for me. And that's okay. But when an Assassin's Creed game appeals to me, you know that that game no longer has its original identity. It is no longer being marketed towards its original audience. Every game nowadays is trying to water down their game as much as possible to appeal to the lowest common denominator and get as many sales as possible. They are just trying to make every single game the same as every other game to ensure they sell the maximum amount of copies without giving a shit for the people who built their brand and built their franchise for them.
I think, and I completely agree. There's a huge problem specifically with Assassin's Creed style games and other stuff like Days Gone, Horizon Zero Dawn, and all that stuff where they kind of hit all the check marks like, oh, there's RPG elements, you can customize your character. Oh, there's crafting elements. Oh, there's a wide open map with several collectibles to find. And while not necessarily bad things, it's just if you keep repeating them, keep finding ways to put those in your game when necessarily they don't have a narrative or fun point. Like, it's hard for me to say because I've bought into it but not bought into it because I like Days Gone. The story and concept, zombie apocalypse, you're a biker and the apocalypse just trying to survive. I like that. I was not a fan of Horizon Zero Dawn, even though that was like the big game of 2017, and I feel like by me saying I didn't like that, I'll have somebody like trying to stab me in my sleep.
Hey man, that's just a normal Tuesday for you, am I right?
I mean,
Yikes.
I mean, the way you've sold me out to be with me saying things to get us canceled, I'm the asshole.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. But yeah, no. See, there's a fine line to draw between that because there's a difference between releasing a new IP that's the same as every other game that's on the market, right? Like
Hmm.
that is very different from watering down an already existing franchise and trying to make it the same as every other game on the market.
It is very different, but I think they tie in together because it's starting to affect even new ideas. Like Days Gone, the creator wants to make a sequel, but Sony's like, we don't want to focus on anything new IP because we just want existing blockbusters to make us money. That's why
Yeah, and
they're talking about remastering The Last of Us 1 again and
yep.
remaking it.
And I've heard a lot about that as well, but it also comes down to, like I said, right? Like there's still that distinction where, you know what, if you make a new IP that's the same as 13 different other games that's on the market right now, I'm going to be less upset at that over someone who takes an existing IP and just goes, this shit's popular, let's just put it into our game because it sells well. Because that it feels like you're selling out the core audience that you've developed over the years. Like I'd rather see a franchise die than see it just become the exact same as every other game on the market. Because who are you making this game for?
I know
You're
I'm
making it for the lowest common denominator. And if you make a new IP, you can make a game for the lowest common denominator, right? Like you've got a blank slate. You can do that. You can make that creative decision. But when you're making that decision with an existing franchise, it just feels so out of place. Like imagine if you were to buy a game as a kid called Epic Samurai Warrior, right? And you pop the disc for Epic Samurai Warrior into your console, you boot it up, and the first thing you see is you're playing as a medieval lord in England. You're like, what? Where's the Epic Samurai gameplay? Like, this isn't what I bought. I want to play as
So
an Epic Samurai.
that seems kind of a highly exaggerated
It's
thing
not,
as
though.
an example.
No, it's not. Because the past three Assassin's Creed games you haven't played as an assassin.
yeah, no,
Okay.
and yeah, no, I completely agree. It's just it I'm really glad that some friend like one good example is Epic Games, the guys who developed Fortnite, huge success. Before while they were in the middle of developing uh Fortnite, because it was in development for a couple of years. In 2016, they brought out a new alpha for Unreal Tournament, a brand new Unreal Tournament game. But their whole shtick was, oh, we're giving all the. It came out right when they released Unreal Engine 4, which don't know if you guys know this because I'm kind of a ultra nerd with this shit. They released Unreal Engine 4 in a couple different forms. Like you have the developer side and the public side, and they basically released it to anybody to use, and you can fuck around with Unreal Engine 4 and actually learn how to develop games within the engine.
Yeah.
And so they were like, this new Unreal Tournament game is going to be community developed. Like, well, we're going to develop things for it, but we also want community input.
Yeah.
And sadly, it did die, but part of me is really happy because with the success of Fortnite, if they made Unreal Tournament just mirror Fortnite to try and get more success, I would literally consider like just take me out back and shoot me and put me out of my misery type shit. Like,
Yeah.
God.
No, I feel it. And back to my point though, Alljay, like you say that's an extreme example. In the past 3 Assassin's Creed games, in Origins, you played as an Egyptian Magi, which to be fair, you know what? You can explain that one away. That's the origin story of the Assassins, right? It's in the title Assassin's Creed Origins. You can kind of accept not playing as an assassin in that game, right?
That's fair.
Then the next game is Odyssey, and you're playing as this Greek eagle-bearing Misthios. And you're just doing shit for people because you can. You have absolutely no relation to Assassins. This game takes place before Origins, right? You told this origin story as your origin story, and then you set a game before that. Why is it in the same franchise? Why does it have the Assassin's Creed title? It has nothing to do with it.
Brian, did you fuck that dude's wife?
No, I didn't. Because fuck you. That's weird. I haven't even played the game yet. So
No,
I know it's a thing. Explain it to Alljay, but
there's a joke. Assassin's Creed has always tried to be really historically accurate. Like, oh, this dude died, and we want him as a main part of our story, so we're gonna work it in as you kill him in the way he died in history. Like, everybody is a person. Everything has some sort of historical accuracy because that's what they wanted to do. In Odyssey, since you're just some random person who can do whatever the fuck you want, and there's no historical accuracy, there's a running joke between old Assassin's Creed fans where there's in Origin, Odyssey, and Valhalla, they give dialogue options. Like, you can choose to do different things, and that's the story, which not a bad thing, but whenever it comes to historical accuracy and talking about the past, you can't have multiple options.
Yeah, and like the main thing with the franchise, right? Like the original Assassin's Creed trailer came out, and I'm sure you remember it, JB. It shows Altair using a crossbow, and they actually got a bunch of feedback on it, like, hey, you know, people during the Third Crusade weren't using small crossbows, like handheld crossbows. That's not a thing. And they took that feedback and went in and were like, yeah, this wasn't historically accurate, so we removed it from the game. Altair does not use a crossbow in that game, despite it showing prevalent in the trailer, because they were told it's not historically accurate. Whereas now you see shit like the eagle-bearing Misthios, who one of your side quests is, this guy can't please his wife anymore, so he wants you to fuck his wife for him. Like, that's one of the side quests you can do, right? And another thing about what JB was talking about with the dialogue options, the main way they told the story, so to explain it to you, they basically have this machine called the Animus, right? And the concept behind it is that in your DNA is the memories of your ancestors.
I get Assassin's Creed. I've played it. Like I've only ever played one. I think Syndicate.
Oh God, that game's horrible. But go on.
I never finished it, so
that game is awful. It's one of my least favorite in the series.
Brian's about to go in a hipster style-esque rant about
why do you hate that game, Brian?
The main problem with that game is I hate Jacob with a passion. No offense, JB. But I hate Jacob with a passion. Someone's going to clip this out of context and think I'm talking about him and I'm a big fucking asshole. But he's just the fucking worst. Like, he's such a terrible character. He's not likable at all. All he does is fuck shit up that Evie then has to go fix. Evie's actually a likable character. Like, I love Evie. She's a great character. She's held back by a terrible fucking game that doesn't take itself seriously. Like, in every previous game, in Assassin's Creed 1, you take place over the course of, like, 3 or 4 years. In Assassin's Creed 2, you literally take place over 20 years. The game starts when Ezio is an 18-year-old, and it ends when he's in his 40s. In Brotherhood, it's the same thing. It lasts about 10 years. It starts when Ezio's in his 40s and ends when he's in his 50s. In Revelations, same thing. It starts when he's in his early 50s. It ends when he's in his mid-50s, right? Like, all of these games take place over years. Fucking Syndicate takes place over 6 months. Like, you're telling me what previous Assassins took, like, 20 years to do, Jacob and Evie just do in 6 months. Thus, they show up and in 6 months they topple the strongest Templar Empire in the world. No big deal. You know, 2 assassins just show up and they, like, none of the story makes sense, and it feels like they wanted to make an Assassin's Creed parody, and they made it, except it's an actual Assassin's Creed game. Like it bothers me on so many different levels. That game, it's
I mean,
not a good game, and
it's
I just
happened
don't like it.
before. Like a lot of people hated Call of Duty Infinite Warfare because it just felt like, oh, Call of Duty's the modern Call of Duty is just your standard military shooter, so we're gonna make a standard military shooter in space with robots.
And another thing that I hate about it is if you actually know the backstory, the Ubisoft higher ups have been for years now shutting down any Assassin's Creed game that has a female protagonist. They don't believe a female protagonist will sell. They don't believe it. They have straight up, there's been leaked quotes where they've said a female protagonist won't sell. That's why Jacob exists in Syndicate, because they didn't think that Evie would sell as a character. That's why there's never been a Xiao Yun game, because she's a super badass character taking place during the Ming Empire. She's never going to get a game for herself because Ubisoft higher ups believe she doesn't sell. That's the reason why Origins isn't a game about fucking Bayek's wife. It's a game about Bayek. Originally, it was supposed to be a game about her. If you watch the ending of the game, it all takes place about her and her transition into Amunet, and yet Bayek is the main character for some reason. And that's saying a lot because I love Bayek. I feel like Abubakar Salim did an absolutely masterful job portraying that character.
His voice is fucking beautiful.
Yeah, and like you've seen that first cutscene that I've showed you, JB. Like the delivery on that is so powerful. I'll link it to you after Alljay so you can know what we're talking about. But it's just such a powerful delivery of that character. But the story ends up being marred by the fact that it was originally written to be an Aya-based story, and then they transitioned it because originally the original script was supposed to be Bayek. You play as Bayek for the first little while, and then he's supposed to either get injured or killed, and you finish the game as Aya. And you can tell with the ending that they were really pushing that Aya-based story, but the Ubisoft higher-ups were told, hey, no, female won't sell. You got to play as a male. And they pushed Aya to the back seat, and now you play as Bayek for the entire game. And it's supposed to be a Bayek story, even though the entire ending is based around Aya. You look at Assassin's Creed Odyssey. The canon character in Assassin's Creed Odyssey is Cassandra. But if you look at any of the marketing for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, they all market Alexios, right? Alexios is marketed everywhere. It's the male protagonist that's marketed everywhere. Like, why are you giving me a choice of playing male or female if you're just going to tell me the canon choice is female anyways?
I mean, look at Cyberpunk 2077. They were talking about all this customization options, but then, hell, the cover of the game is just generic white man.
Well, it also comes into the issue where, like, you end up watering down your character if you make it a choice. Right? You now need to have every dialogue be gender neutral because you could be playing a male or a female. You can't have any nuance to your character about what their gender is. Like something I love that Mass Effect did, they don't do it very often, but because you can play as male or female Shepard, there are different interactions in all of the games that take place for female Shepard instead of male Shepard. They took the time and the care to put those into the games because they realize women aren't the same as men. You can't treat men the same as women. If you create a choice between the gender of your character, you can't spend the entire game pretending that both the male and female character are the same. They are not. Objectively, they are not.
I don't see how they could say that females don't sell, like Tomb Raider, fucking some of the Final Fantasy games, Tales of Bestaria. Like some of my favorite games and stuff that I've really enjoyed have been female protagonists that I connect better
Metroid.
with.
Like you didn't even mention Metroid there.
Oh, that's true. I was thinking about that. I couldn't remember it. I couldn't remember the game, but yes, I was gonna say that.
Female protagonists do sell. You just gotta keep in mind the company we're talking about here that has a history of misogyny and fucking abusing women. Like none of the higher ups at Ubisoft give a fuck about women. No wonder they think they won't sell. When in reality, the games market has proven time and time again, women characters sell. Like you were talking about Horizon Zero Dawn before. Aloy, female protagonist. Like, female protagonists do fucking sell. In a lot of cases, female protagonists sell better than male protagonists. It is completely mind-boggling.
I think one of the best nuanced takes on this, and I mean this in full meme, my buddy Caleb at one point is like, why do I want to play a game for 20 hours staring at man ass when I can see
right? Like, spoiler alert for Ubisoft, I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of dudes actually think it's really badass to see a woman doing something they're interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm about to
right?
buy. I'm about to buy a skateboard. If I see any skater chicks, and be like, "That's kind of cool. I like that."
Right? Like, Alljay, I'm sure you can confirm this. How many of your hobbies have you tried to also get your girlfriend into because you think it would be so badass if she liked what you liked?
Most of them.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, Ubisoft, here's the thing. Men actually like it when women like what they like. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Dog. Yeah, exactly. Like, it just fucking hell. I just want to share my interest with people I like.
Right? And then back to my tangent though, they did the exact same thing with Valhalla. The fucking female protagonist is the canon protagonist in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Female Eivor is who you are supposed to play as. She's the canon choice. But all of the marketing is for male Eivor. You would be fucking hard pressed to believe that female Eivor is the canon choice if you looked at all of the marketing for the fucking game because they only marketed the male Eivor choice. They only put that choice in and they had to write a stupid fucking narrative reason for it because, well, female protagonists won't sell. They just won't sell. We can't do it. They won't sell. We got to put a male in there or else the game won't sell. It just makes me so mad, dude. Like, it makes me so angry. But go on,
Fair.
you were gonna say something?
I know I don't have anything to add because I mean we're in agreement on it. I think,
Yeah.
but it's the point. Like we're gonna bitch about it. We're still gonna enjoy video games. We go back play the ones we enjoyed when we were kids, or we play a new one that interests us. Like
Yeah, and I was gonna
ev-
go on to this as well. Another thing with the Animus, like the Animus is reliving memories, so having dialogue options doesn't make sense. You can't relive someone's memories and be like, "Oh yeah, they actually did this instead." Surprise.
but yeah, we could bitch about this all day though. I mean, like even if we're talking about like movies or TV shows, like
We
all
can,
we
and that's why I wanted to go into further like the watering down of media in the general media
dude,
landscape as opposed to
don't
just
get me
gaming too.
don't get me started on movies. Like I love comics, I love Marvel, superheroes, grew up reading that shit, but I'm so fucking tired of Marvel movies and superhero shit.
Yeah. I honestly, I'm hype about what everything that's going on with it. This is a side tangent. I mean, maybe we should talk about this more at some point in the future. But
Yeah, no, go
like,
on.
yo,
Like
I'm
I'm
fucking
pretty sure we're
excited
done with the
about the
gaming
MCU,
topic.
man.
We're done with gaming, so I'm down for whatever now.
Bro,
Well, I mean,
I'm.
there was one thing I wanted to bring up with gaming still, but
Oh no,
we can save that.
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say the only argument you have as to counter the watering down element is games also do need to evolve, right? Like you can't release the exact same game for 20 years in a row without improving on anything or changing anything, or else that game will stop selling, right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, even like Mario Brothers, Zelda, and all like
That's what I was
classic
going to go
ones.
into, actually. I was going to use Mario Kart as the perfect example for that. Mario Kart is a franchise that has existed for almost 30 years at this point, and every game is unique and distinct from the previous one without just copying fucking Forza Horizon, right? Like, imagine if Mario Kart came out tomorrow and said they have a Battle Royale mode, because Battle Royales are popular now. LOL, so we have one too.
And like, and I agree to some degree, but I think there's also like some things like whenever you come to game designing, you have to have a game design document. It's what you want out of the game, your mechanics, the story. You get all it. It's almost like brainstorming at the beginning of a writing prompt. You just list down everything that you want to stick to, and you follow that document.
Yeah.
Too many games nowadays don't stick to their design document and either overload with shit that doesn't need to be in there, or they change something else because of one little detail like, oh, we had a focus group who said this one little thing and we like that, so we're going to change everything else, even though the other 8 focus groups didn't want that change.
There's also the argument of like every game wanting to be each other, right? Like if you look at Call of Duty right now, what does everyone think about when they think of Call of Duty? They don't think about Modern Warfare or whatever the fuck the previous titles were. They think about Warzone, right? Warzone is not what Call of Duty was. Warzone is not what Call of Duty is. Warzone is a battle royale. I can admit I'm fully biased on this. I don't like battle royale games. I tried multiple of them at this point. They're just not for me. And like we've talked about earlier, that's fine. Not every game needs to be made for me, right? I am not
Oh
the
yeah.
target audience of every single video game. But when Call of Duty is now thought of as a fucking battle royale game instead of the arena shooter that it like dominated the market of for 20 years, you start to question like is Call of Duty really Call of Duty anymore?
To be fair to Warzone though, since I have played it a little bit, it really does do Battle Royale a little bit of justice because they introduced a lot of mechanics that were in Modern Warfare, the newest one, and they stay true to the series in some way. Like you have the kill streaks, you have customizations, like you can get a loadout like you can set up your loadouts like a normal lobby match, and you can get a loadout drop to get what weapons you want to use. And they have a lot of interesting small mechanics that do make it that much different. But I agree, like if I mention Call of Duty to any random person, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, I play Warzone." They're not gonna be like, "Oh yeah, dude, I played like fucking 20 matches of One in the Chamber on Cold War last night."
Exactly, right? Like, I couldn't even tell you what the current fucking Call of Duty title is, or what the next Call of Duty title is, or what the previous three were, because Warzone is the only thing that comes to mind right now. And I'm not trying to say that they're just copying the same thing everyone else is doing, right? I do get that they did things different, but it really begs the question of, like, does Warzone really need to have the Call of Duty tag on it at that point? Would it
No,
not
not
have
really.
been better if it
No,
was
not
just an
necessarily.
individual IP without the Call of Duty tag? So that way, maybe there are some things that it ties to Call of Duty in a way that are negative, right? And that if they had gotten rid of that tag, they could have made a better game, but because they wanted to keep it relative to Call of Duty, they made their game worse because of it to sell more copies
Yeah,
because
no,
they know that people will buy it.
they wanted the association because they have battle passes and stuffs where you can buy certain operators and certain skins. So people who've played Call of Duty for years, like I guarantee you guys played Modern Warfare 2 back in the day.
Well, I did. I don't think Alljay did.
No.
Uh,
Yeah, I think that was
I
before he
started
was in
playing
the
like
country,
Modern
so.
Warfare 3, yo.
Yeah,
Or
that was
World at
before he was
War,
in the
that's a
country.
lie.
well, so say like from Modern Warfare 3, you had Soap and Price, which were also characters in Modern Warfare 2, but because of that association, they can now put Soap McTavish and Captain Price in Warzone as skins, and then sell deviations of that. Like, oh, here's Captain Price during this one operation where he now has like black and red camo. Give us $10.
Hmm.
But that's the thing, right? Like, that's the entire argument I have is to the watering down of the game industry. It's like, you're including this shit solely so you can make more money. The game is
Well,
suffering,
that's what it is.
but that's the point, right? Like, the game is suffering because you're including shit because you're fucking money grubbing and you want to
See,
maximize the amount of profit from it.
and that's what I don't get is because in the long run, it's hurting their profits.
But is it though? Because it's like the third most popular game on Twitch right now.
I said in the long run, like, yeah, right now returns will be good, but if they keep continuing down this path, let's say in another 2 years, if Warzone's still relevant, like, yeah, if it's still relevant,
If it's still relevant.
it's just going to be hurting them at that point because they tried to
Yeah.
make it through there. Like, relevancy matters so much because like Rainbow Six Siege has been out for 6 years, but it's still one of the most popular uh, competitive shooters on the market because it has its own niche. They have battle passes and cosmetics,
Yeah.
but that doesn't affect what the core gameplay is, and they're not trying to change that for good reason.
And another great example of this is Apex Legends. Apex Legends is set in the Titanfall universe. It has zero marketing that this is a Titanfall experience. It's based off of Titan. Like, they didn't give a shit. A lot of the guns are the same that are in Titanfall. A lot of the lore links to the Titanfall lore, but they didn't market it as a Titanfall game. They marketed it as an individual game. They marketed it as its own thing, separate of that. You don't feel like you need to buy this because you're a Titanfall fan because it's a completely separate game. And I feel like that's the correct way to do things. And I am so glad that Apex is as popular as it is, despite the fact that, like I said, self admitted, I don't like Battle Royale games, and I probably never will. I am glad that that game is doing well because I feel like that is the formula I want all games companies to follow. If you have a new idea, even if it's something that you want to copy that someone else did, but you feel like you can do it better, make a new IP. You want to, like, Assassin's Creed, you want to make fucking historical based RPG, fantasy RPGs, make a new IP. Don't sully an already existing franchise and water it down because you feel like fantasy RPGs in a historical setting are popular. because it just makes everything worse. It makes the Assassin's Creed brand worse because Assassin's Creed fans are going to be like, the fuck, this has nothing to do with the brand that I love. And it's going to make your fantasy RPG worse because you're shoehorning in a bunch of Assassin's Creed related topics that don't necessarily fit the game for the sake of, well, it's an Assassin's Creed title, so we have to include it. We have to include all of this stuff because it's in this franchise. Just make a new franchise.
Yeah, and
Apex did that, and Apex proved it works, and you can make a successful new franchise if you just fucking make a great game. Because gamers want to play good games. They don't give a shit what the title of the game is, what the franchise of the game is. If it is a great game, people will play it.
yeah, and that's the thing is like you can have a franchise and you can have multiple different points of that franchise. Like I'm not opposed to Valhalla being an Assassin's Creed game. I just don't want it as a main Assassin's Creed game because it's not Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Like every Final Fantasy game is called Final Fantasy, but like only two of them are actually connected to each other. Most of them are completely separate stories about completely different worlds and characters, but because it has that Final Fantasy tagline, you know what gameplay you're expecting.
Yeah, and that's the other thing about it, right? Like the Final Fantasy tag, you know exactly what you're going to get from a Final Fantasy game, whereas the Assassin's Creed tag, that has meant so many different things now at this point. You can buy an Assassin's Creed game, and like Alljay said earlier, he thought it was hyperbole. You're buying an Assassin's Creed game expecting to play as an assassin, and now you're playing as a fucking Viking. It's like what I said about Epic Samurai Warrior and then playing as a medieval lord in England. You're like, oh,
Literally,
that's an extreme example. It's like, no, it's not. That's what Valhalla is. You're buying an
literally,
Assassin's Creed game. Go on, JB, sorry.
if they would have changed the title from Assassin's Creed to like Assassin's Stories Valhalla and have a slight deviation, it would have fixed so many issues.
Yeah, and like I was saying though, right? Like you're saying that's an extreme example, Alljay, but it's like it's true. What does being a Viking have to do with being an assassin? Those are the complete opposite fantasies. The assassin fantasy is to run around stealthily, avoiding all of the guards, avoiding combat, and taking out your target. The Viking fantasy is to run in fucking shirtless with two fucking axes, one in each hand, just running at fucking people, chopping heads off and shit.
Hey, no, my Viking fantasy. You guys ever seen the old techno Viking video on YouTube?
Oh god.
Some dude shirtless at a rave going ooh 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 ooh.
I don't even know that one.
Dude, I'll have to find. That's a classic.
We've got a lot of stuff we got to show.
Oh,
after this
dude.
That's my Viking fantasy.
Yeah, right.
Scary.
That's why I said though, right? Like you say it's an extreme example. That's literally what happened in Valhalla. You're picking up an Assassin's Creed game and you end up playing as a fucking Viking. They have nothing to do with each other.
We're cutting it here. We've spent too much time on this.
Fair. All right, Alljay, you want to talk about the MCU? Tell us what you're excited
Marvel
about
movies.
the MCU.
Well, as I said earlier, I'm fucking excited with what's going on with them right now. Fucking Shang-Chi's coming soon. I believe November or September. Black Widow's coming out. I'm kind of hyped for that too. And I don't know, JB, if you've been keeping up with all the shows.
I kind of stopped caring after Endgame.
Yeah.
Because I like I said, I like comics and everything. It's just the sad fact of the matter is a lot of those stories turn out to be the same. They hit the same points. They have the same themes. That's not a bad thing, but the fact that Hollywood is so dominated by him now, you don't get a lot of interesting different movies. And that's been a problem with Hollywood for years though, because we keep remaking old movies and other shit.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing though. It's what do you expect? It's a superhero movie kind of thing. It's got to have that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. I don't hate him for that. I just hate him for other reasons like oh god, this I don't want to bring this one up, but it's a good example because like I did not like Captain Marvel, but not for the.
Not a lot of people did.
Yeah, not for the stupid reasons of female character or this. It was just kind of a bad movie. Like the whole beginning part of it is like, oh, Caroline, you have to learn to control your powers and be the best you can be. But then by the end of the movie, the whole thing is like, oh, if you don't control yourself, you're more powerful and you'll take out your enemies. even for a superhero movie, it didn't follow its own theming devices, and it just was kind of bad. Not to mention, there were a lot of plot holes. Like, the fuck were the scrolls doing? Why did the Supreme Intelligence want to trick Carol and be like, "Oh, hey, I look like this person from your past, but you don't remember your past." What? It was fucking weird and
I know
stupid.
it's and I agree with you. Not my top choice as far as like Marvel movies either. But I mean, cause
Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, on the other hand, that movie was awesome. That
oh
movie
oh
fucking
yeah
kicked ass.
And
oh
that's
yeah
why I really wanted to go into like the watering down of the media industry as a whole, because a lot of these movies, even if they're complete fucking dog's ass, they're still gonna make millions of dollars. You know, like people are still gonna pay to watch them just because they expect a certain level of quality. And a lot of times, these companies don't get punished for releasing something that's below that level of quality. And then a lot of them end up getting complacent and releasing things that aren't to the level that we expected of before because they think people will just pay to go see it anyways because it has the tag.
It's a slippery slope to talk about though, because some of those movies are some of my favorites. Like, have you guys seen the new Mortal Kombat movie that came out?
Absolutely not.
no not
I
yet.
can see why a lot of people would say it's not a good movie, but I genuinely love that movie because it was very self-aware. It made fun of itself, but it also was interesting, had good effects. Like they literally had a part where Kung Lao sawed somebody in half, and he's like, flawless victory. Like, really stupid. But because of how it was all made and presented, I would genuinely give that movie like a 7, 7.5, and I hope they make another one.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
And I mean it even extends further outside of like movies, right? Like you can see it happening in like the music industry as well. Like think of how many pop songs nowadays are just the exact same four chords repeated over and
Oh
over
my
again, the
god.
same chord
Dude,
progression.
don't
Oh
Every
god,
fucking song sounds the same.
don't
Like
get me
that's been
started on this.
happening for years, man. That's been happening since
Don't get
mid
me
2000s.
it has, but that's my point, right? Like the
no
watering
like
down of media. It just it
the
feels
whole
like go on,
the
JB.
the whole thing with Lil Nas X and his whole song Montanero. Though everyone got up in arms about the video of him fucking twerking on Satan. I didn't give a shit about that. I didn't like it because holy shit, we have another song about doing something that religion or other popular things thinks is wrong, and why is it wrong? Like, we have
Yeah.
explored that topic in music so many times. Like, hell, even a couple years ago, Take Me to Church.
You know?
It's one of those ones where it's a good business move at this point. I feel like it takes away. It's not artistic at this point. It's all about pissing off old conservatives. You know
Dude,
what I'm
it's just
saying?
about, like I said,
It
making
you get
whatever
clicks off
appeals
of
to the
that.
lowest common denominator, right?
Like,
Whatever is going to make you the most money.
I like the song. The song is good. It's a really good vibe song that's very popular with
Oh yeah,
like
it could be.
it's like I'm gonna sit at home or I'm gonna sit at the club with my bros while smoking weed, doing ecstasy, or sipping lean or whatever, and listening to this
We don't
vibe
endorse
ass
any of
song.
those activities, by the way. Just
We don't endorse anything,
asterisk.
anything illegal, but it's exploring a lot of the same themes, just to a slightly new market, which not a bad thing. Lil Nas X is probably one of the better ones doing it because
Mhm.
again, new market, but have some originality, people.
Yeah, and it's like
I mean,
it's
I don't know. I ain't never seen a dude twerk on Satan before.
That
well
was
clear.
original.
I was gonna
It
say
You know what? I respect. He's gained my respect,
I
Lil
was
Oh
gonna
yeah,
Nas.
no,
say
I
to be
love it.
fair,
I have my complaints with it because of like the whole theming. Like I like it, but for everything else, it's just that one complaint.
I was also gonna say to be fair, you probably haven't seen many men twerking in the first place because I don't feel like that's the kind of thing you look up, Alljay.
True. That's
Dog,
that's true.
dog, with all the memes you see online of just the homies being homies and being just slightly homoerotic to each other, it's not surprising.
I mean, I've seen it. I've never actively looked for it. It would just be there because bros are being bros.
Well,
You know
what
what
you
I'm
talking
saying?
about? You don't kiss your homies goodnight?
Bruh, I sleep with my homies. What are you talking about?
Yeah, he's a real homie.
What the fuck is this devolved into?
What? It's
Jesus.
just homies being homies, bro.
Bruh, I
Oh
can't
my
honestly I can't take a shit without a homie on my lap no more.
Group poop, group poop.
Dude, it's like that meme I posted the other day of the fucking big ass toilet, and it's like, who's grouping up for the group poop, boys? The group poop. It's a toilet that can fit 4.
Dude,
Let's
we
go.
hold hands because it lessens the suffering.
Oh my
And it's
god.
not even holding hands like this, it's holding hands like this. And for
Intertwined fingers, or it's not real.
Can we appreciate that the last 30 minutes of the podcast is always the fucking most banger part of the podcast? Like, we always just have the most fun at
It's
the
a slow
end.
burn. It's a slow
Right?
burn.
It's a
It's a
slow
slow
burn.
burn.
It rewards the people who listen to the entire thing. If you've made it this far through the podcast, you are getting some gold right now.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest artists right now, at least with EDM spaces, would be Marshmello, just from success.
Yep.
And I like Marshmello. A lot of his stuff, I listened to him early on, but people get set in stone. They water down their media. They release to the broadest audience they can, and it's no shame to them. Make that bag. But as somebody who likes creativity and wants to bring creativity to this world, it's just kind of painful to see where it's going, because you're like, damn.
You know what? To piggyback on that, as fucked up as this sounds, and like people are probably gonna lose faith on like their favorite artists. I feel like some, not all artists, once they hit a certain level of success, they the quote unquote sell out. Like it's like I I know this makes money. Fuck it. Like they start losing love for the art kind of thing. And I don't know if you've noticed that from your artists. I
Oh,
definitely
dude.
have.
Oh, yeah. Kanye West lost love for the art. Red Hot Chili Peppers lost love for the art. That was one of the big ones in the early 2000s, because Red Hot Chili Peppers had the big explosive first album, Californication, Danny California, and all these songs that just talked about how kind of fucked the world is. They got big, they made money, and then their next few albums were nowhere near as like hard hitting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, bruh, like when you said Kanye West, I'm like,
That hits you right in the feels, dude. Right in the feels.
I remembered. I
College
remember when he
Dropout.
dropped.
College Dropout was such a good fucking album,
Uh,
but then you look at Yeezus and you're like, damn, Kanye, what happened?
yo. Wait. Not even that. No, you know what? I'm willing to be, devil's advocate. I actually kind of fucks with Jesus.
Oh, I did too.
What I don't fucks with is, and I don't even know the title of the album because I've listened to
Talk
it
about
once.
the life of Pablo or something.
The gospel one, not that one.
Oh yeah, no, the gospel one was really weird.
And it's like, I waited for that. I listened to it the moment it dropped at like 12 at night.
What about fucking Playboy Cardi? That fucking album he dropped over Christmas. People were...
Honestly, I've never listened to Playboy Cardi to begin with, so I wasn't disappointed. I went and listened to it once.
I think it was his second album. He had Magnolia, Woke Up Like This, and a bunch of other good songs. And people were excited. They waited 4 years for this new album to drop. It drops on Christmas, and like everybody was like, "There's only like 2 good songs this entire album. What the fuck, bro?"
Yikes!
Yeah.
Blue balls.
I mean, I was gonna get into this, but it's like we talked about being a hipster earlier, but it's hard to not feel like a hipster when not all, but so much of mainstream media is that level of watered down. It's like, what do I find myself doing most right now? I play indie games. I listen to more indie type of music. I prefer more indie type of like. I am sounding like a hipster, but it's not because I am one. It's just because a lot of mainstream shit is just the same garbage regurgitated over and over again.
I can devolve this podcast in one question.
Oh God.
Alljay, what do you think of Lil Uzi?
Oh, I know the answer to this. That's why I'm laughing.
Hey! I don't know if it might surprise you, but I like Lil Uzi.
Hey, no, that's fair. I do not like a lot of his music because a lot of it sounds the exact same. But there's a few of them, like That Way and 20 Minutes are 2 of my favorite songs. When I'm driving home at like 9 p.m., I'll turn that on and just vibe out while driving home.
No, I agree with you. And to me, what Playboy Cardi is to a lot of people, Lil Uzi is to me. Lil Uzi's a vibe. Because you want to listen to music sometimes, when you want to be woke, you want to listen to the words you want to feel, but then sometimes you want to just vibe, and that's what Lil Uzi is to me.
Yeah, like if I'm wanting to think about some stuff, I'll turn on some like indie guitar alternative rock stuff and just be in my feelies for 5 minutes. Like let me put on old John Bellion where he's talking about I hope success doesn't ruin me as a person and ruin my friendships. And I'm like, oh god, it hurts. But then right after that, I'll turn on like Into Club by 50 Cent. I'm like, go shorty, it's your birthday.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
That's
man.
such a banger.
That is, dude, you miss it out. We're going back to gaming because we always do, but you remember the Rock Band games, right, Alljay?
I do. I've never played any of them.
That's fair. You don't need
I've,
to have played them,
yeah.
but the developer of the Rock Band games made a new game called Fuser, where it's basically you play as a DJ, and "In the Club" by 50 Cent is one of the songs in that game. And fucking JB knows I play that track all the time when I'm
No,
fucking
with
around.
Brian's history of being DJing, that game is so good for him because I'll pop into call and he's just like, "Hey, listen to this mix," and I'm just sitting here like, "Oh shit, dog, this is
Yeah,
fire."
JB's just sitting there and he's like, holy fuck, dude. Like, everything you do is just great. Nothing you do sounds bad. And I was thinking, like, well, maybe that's just the game, right? Like, maybe the game played it really well. So then me and our buddy Weiss, and I forget if you were paying attention at the time or not, JB, but we
I
looked
was
at
in
other
VR, so
people's
no.
mixes. We looked at other people's mixes, and we were like, this is actually kind of shit. Like, straight up, I don't like this. Like, none of this is enjoyable to me. But yet we'll listen to something I made and everything I make is just fire after fire. So I was like, okay, so I do actually have some DJing talent left still. It's not just the game making everything sound good. Because we'll listen to other people's shit and we'll be like, yeah, this is bad. This is just straight bad.
For some of the story missions I watched him play, they're like, "Oh, do this. We'd like to hear this," and Brian trying to work it into the mix will ruin
Right?
it, and it sounds awful for like 2 seconds, and then as soon as the objective's complete, he just throws it back to what he was doing. He's like, "Okay, it's good now."
Right? Like the game will be like, yeah, throw a country vocal in on this EDM track that you've got playing right now. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So I'll just put it on. It sounds fucking horrendous for 2 seconds. The objective's done. Boot that shit right back out and put something else in that sounds good again.
It can work with enough care and love, like a fucking what the fuck is the name? Florida Georgia Line had that song "Cruise" that a year later they did a remix with Nelly and they turned it into more of like a club hopper song for a second, but it worked because they actually put effort into it.
Yeah, and like that's the thing with it, right? Because it's a game, I understand that they need to try and encourage me to follow the objectives. So I get sometimes they're just going to give me shit that's out of left field. Where like if I were to actually make something based around that vocal, I could probably make something that sounds really good. But if I'm playing 3 other tracks right now that all sound completely different from that, and then I have to insert it in there, it's always going to sound fucking completely whack. Because it's like, yeah, this isn't what I was going for. I'm just satisfying this objective. But when I get to free play is when I have the most fun because I could just make whatever I want and it always sounds great. I absolutely love that game. I wish we would play more of it. And by we, I mean me with the boys because it is just so much fun to play.
The literal perfect background noise if you like want to talk with your friends but don't really feel like playing games together or some shit. Is he'll just throw it up and be making music in the background while we're like talking about random shit.
Asterisk, great for them, not great for me. It's really hard to focus on that shit and talk at the same time.
Well, fuck you, Brian. We don't care about how you feel.
See, this is why you're the asshole of the group. I'm the nice guy. Everyone's gonna hate you now.
Oh
I've
no, we're
been
gonna
such a sweetheart this
no,
entire time, and
no.
you're just
We
like,
have
"Fuck you, Brian." No one cares about how you feel.
no. We have clipped proof of you saying I hate Jacob. You can't say that against me.
You're actually gonna clip that too. You're gonna be
I
editing the
haven't.
video, and you're just gonna clip that one segment. Fuck Jacob. I hate Jacob. He's the fucking worst. I wish he wasn't in the
Oh,
fucking
dude,
game. He's awful.
you just
You
made
just
it
made
even
it
better.
easier.
You made it easier. I have video proof and audio proof now. Fuck you, bud.
I know I did that on purpose just for the comedic effect. But yeah, no, like it genuinely is just such a fun game. I honestly absolutely love it. I feel like it might be the kind of game you would enjoy, Alljay. I
Oh,
might show you it at some point.
I got an interesting topic for you guys to
What's up?
finish us off.
Well, we haven't
Once,
talked about the Battle of the Joshes. That's going to be our capstone. But
fair enough.
go on.
But whenever quarantine actually ends and things are opening up, I actually plan on taking a trip up there to visit Brian because me and him
You
have
mean
known each
visit
other.
Francisco?
He's a side objective.
You mean visit Francisco? Let's be real. You guys bonded on a special level.
Oh yeah, because he's special.
Oh.
Listen,
Oh my god.
I like Francisco.
I don't want to say it on the podcast what I mean, but you know what I mean, JB.
I love the guy because he genuinely reminds me of one of my best friends named Robbie, which that's somebody we have to have as a guest at some point because I feel like Alljay will like Robbie.
I've already promised episode 2's guest is Weiss if he's around, so he's our
Yeah.
guest for the next episode.
Yes, I can't wait.
It's gonna be great, dude. Like, it's gonna be so good. I've already figured out the title for this episode too. The one where we take a group poop.
Yeah,
Hey.
dude. No, the one where we have Weiss on, we have to have the pedigree Falcon hawk, the Falcon hat or the hawk hat.
The Falcon mating hat. Oh
Dude.
my god, Alljay doesn't know what we're talking about. He just thinks
I
we're
have no
fucking
idea.
insane.
Alljay, the pedigree Falcon was endangered for a minute, and to help curve those numbers, they developed a literal hat that is just a bunch of netting and webbing that for some reason falcons are attracted to.
Well,
so
not for some reason. They pour pheromones on the hat, right?
Yeah, that's fair, but it's literally just a hat they wear. They pour it on there. A falcon comes by,
Gets
drops
super horny. Just
drops its load, and then leaves. So they have mating hats.
Yep. So they collect a bunch of falcon semen to then inseminate eggs artificially.
I did a quick Google on it. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, you did a quick Google falcon fucking hats, and now that's in your search history. Congrats, Alljay.
Well, because
God.
for some reason, Weiss was obsessed with this hat after we talked about it.
No, he wasn't obsessed with it. It's because I told him, would you wear that? And he's like, absolutely, I would wear that. So I created the meme of Weiss's fucking falcon fucking hat.
Yeah, I mean, it became such a big meme that like he changed his name in like 3 servers to it.
Yup, to be falcon fucked. I was fucking like, no, because the best part from the meme came when I was like, all my homies have been skull fucked by a falcon. If you haven't been skull fucked by a falcon, we're not homies anymore.
Let me add that onto the list of things to do it when I come visit you.
Get skull fucked by a falcon.
Well, what I was gonna say though is, I want to. If I come up there to meet you guys, like obviously I want it to be after everything is done so we can go out and do stuff because I've never been to Canada, I've never been to Toronto. I've been around the States, but not a lot comparatively when I was younger.
Yeah.
Like the most I've been to is I live in Indiana. I'm close to Kentucky. So I've been around Indiana like Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, Kentucky and Tennessee. But outside of that, the furthest I've went is I went to Florida when I was like 4 years old to go to Disneyland.
Fair enough, fair enough. I mean, that's not necessarily uncommon for Americans, though. Feels like Americans typically aren't as well traveled as a lot of other places in the world. But to be fair, like, you also consider Europeans can just travel between almost any European country without a passport. It's pretty easy as a European to visit multiple other countries, right?
I want to visit multiple states. I just haven't really had a reason to besides visiting some friends. And so
Yeah.
for that, I'm really only going to be going Eastern Board to go visit Chris and Eli and a few guys up there. And then I have you up in Canada, which is not even far from where Chris is.
I was gonna say, hey man, we're friends again now. You can enact your old plan.
It's all coming together. All I had to do was get Chris so drunk that he was like, okay,
Dude, the
maybe I
best
should
part's
not-
gonna be when he listens to that and be like, wait a minute.
Oh,
Wait a
God, no.
minute.
Cut it out. I didn't mean it.
Cut that. Cut. Cut it out of the podcast. Nobody needs
No.
to know.
The whole story of that is me and Chris were up late talking about a lot of stuff, just doing those deep dive talks that bros do whenever they have some shit on their mind.
Yeah.
And Chris was like, bro, I love you. I'm glad I met you. And I was like, bro, you too. And because I was super
You were
drunk, I was
taking a
like,
group poop while you were doing this, right? On the group
Yeah.
pooper.
yeah. And then I just had this thought. I was like, I need to tell Brian I love him because I haven't said that in a while.
Like you
And
do.
I was like, Chris, I just messaged Brian. I love him. I'm really glad that I've met you both. And Chris just randomly messaged Brian again, and I was like, oh, what?
All right, we're hitting the hour and a half mark, but I do want to get this done before we end the podcast. Alljay, are you aware of the Battle of the Joshes?
Is this like more of an inside thing, or is this like a thing?
No, this is big. This blew up. Like, my mom knows about it because it was on the news level of big.
How does your mom know about it and I don't?
Well, apparently my mom is just more internet savvy than you, I guess.
But it was a stupid meme that popped up, like, I want to say last year.
Yeah, it was from last year.
Last year, this guy whose name was Josh something looked up everybody who had the same first and last name that he had
On Facebook.
and there was a fuck ton of them. So he messaged all of them in a group chat and like, listen, come to these coordinates on this date and we're gonna have a battle of the Joshes. So everybody thought it was a meme, but we never saw anything more from the group chat. But apparently enough of those Joshes agreed to it that one day a bunch of people showed up with pool noodles wearing cosplays and armor and they just started pool noodle sword fighting to see who would
and
win
rock,
as
paper, scissors.
and who would become the best Josh.
Yeah, and so they actually had the Battle of the Joshes. Yeah, it was super wholesome. It was a great meme. And it gets more wholesome, too.
Oh,
you know the
it's so
ending? You know the ending, JB, right?
Yep.
You want to tell it because you've been telling the story?
They ended up declaring the winner as the 5-year-old kid who showed up, and everybody like put him up on their shoulders, like, "You're the best, Josh."
God
He's the
damn,
only
that
Josh
is
left.
so
All of them
goddamn
have to
wholesome.
name change now, but he gets to stay Josh.
It was so wholesome because the kid was just nothing but smiles, and everybody holding him up was smiling. Like it was like that feel good summer hit you needed to see. Like, oh, I believe in humanity again.
Can we appreciate you just said feel good summer hit, and yet for me and Alljay it literally snowed last week?
Listen, Indiana's weird too. About 2 weeks ago, it went from being 68 degrees to 32, and we had snow for 4 days.
Yeah, we legit had snow on the ground, and you're like, that's the summer hit we needed. Me and Alljay are like, what's summer? We're still in winter.
Listen, the Ohio River Valley is a very weird mistress because we're on the edge of Tornado Valley, so I get tornadoes. If we have a bad hurricane season, even though I'm nowhere near the coast, I still get hit with hurricane weather. I got it, give it an hour and the weather will change somehow, and you'll be like, "Huh, that's normal."
Anyways, to finish off the Josh topic, I saw a fucking banger meme after that too. It was, you know that meme, the format where it's just a bunch of girls turning around in their desks in a high school setting, right? You guys are
Yep.
aware of that meme, right?
Yep.
And so the caption was, it's the year 2030, your first year of high school. The teacher says, is Josh present? And you say here. Because he's the last Josh because he won the battle.
Yep. He's the chosen one.
I loved that so much. That was just such a great meme. It had me fucking gutted. I was almost on the floor laughing. It was so good.
Oh no, it makes me happy because we live in this age now where everybody's always online, and so many kids will look back at like their internet history and be like, oh god, what was I?
Yep.
But at least this kid gets to look back and be like, I got to do that. That's amazing.
Yep. I mean, to be fair, we all have stories like that, right? Of our past things we did that we get to look back on and be like,
oh god,
you know
if
what?
everybody
that was
if
really
everybody
cool.
could pull up my YouTube comments from when I was like 10 years old and just said, I didn't say anything awful, but some of the shit that I just didn't think. Like I remember I was listening to a song that had vocals from the lead artist from Cash Cash, and I thought it said Cash Cab, and I was like, wait, the dude from Cash Cab's an artist? What the fuck?
Fair enough. All right. Well, you know what? We hit the hour and a half mark. We discussed all the topics we wanted to talk about. We took our group poop on the podcast.
Any final thoughts from anybody to finish this up?
Any final thoughts, boys? Anything you want to say to the crowd to cap off our first episode? Alljay?
Fuck, I do. Kids, remember to group poop with your homies.
Good
love
advice.
it. I love it.
And that's how we end it.
No. We let JB get his final words. JB, any final words?
My final words are: if you get those true homies in life,
Make
they
sure you
piss
take a
you
group
off.
poop.
They might piss you off, but you love them all the same. You gotta hit all. You gotta get skull fucked by Falcon. You gotta take the group poop, and you gotta kiss him goodnight.
Oh,
Take care of the home.
fuck.
Listen, we we stand certain things in this podcast, and one of the things we stand is you don't destroy your kings, you build up your kings.
This is a brotherhood, baby.
Absolutely. All right. Great final words from the boys. As for me, you know what? I think this was an absolute banger of a podcast. I think these past half hour has just been banger after banger after banger. If you've listened this far, you have enjoyed an absolute gem of
You're
a
now part of the
podcast.
brotherhood.
Right?
You're invited to the next group poop.
Right? You're invited to the next group poop. You're invited to the next Falcon skull fucking party. Just, everything is great. Everything is awesome. But on a more serious note, this has been an absolute amazing episode. It was everything I wished it would be and more. So thank you very much for everyone who actually managed to listen to the end of the very first episode of the Subpar Mechanics podcast. We love and appreciate all of you. You're all fucking legendary. And with that, we will be signing off now. Say bye, boys.
Peace.
Listen, guys, you got mad swag now.
There we go. That's it. See you in 2 weeks, everyone.
Peace, peace.